The mahogany dining table at my in-laws' house had always been a place of judgment. Every monthly family dinner, the same routine, my husband's successful siblings showcasing their achievements while I sat quietly, enduring their subtle digs about my little computer thing I did from home. What they didn't know was that my little computer thing was about to change everything. "Sarah, dear, are you still doing that online craft business?" my mother-in-law Margaret asked with that patronizing smile she'd perfected over the years. The entire family looked my way, ready for the entertainment. "It's not exactly crafts, Margaret," I replied calmly, cutting into my salmon. "Oh right, what was it again?" my brother-in-law Robert chimed in, his voice dripping with condescension. "Some kind of website thing." Robert was a traditional investment banker, the family's golden boy who never missed an opportunity to remind everyone about his MBA from Wharton and his corner office downtown. His wife Jessica worked in marketing for a pharmaceutical company and considered herself an expert on real business. "Still playing with your little hobby business?" Robert laughed, raising his wine glass. "What is it now, selling trinkets online?" The table erupted in polite chuckles. My husband Mark shifted uncomfortably beside me but said nothing. He'd grown up with this dynamic and had long ago stopped defending me at these gatherings. "Real entrepreneurs don't work from home in their pajamas," Jessica added, her voice sharp with superiority. "They have offices, employees, actual business plans." My sister-in-law Amanda nodded eagerly. "Remember when I suggested you apply to that entry-level position at my marketing firm? You could still do that, you know. Get some real work experience." I smiled and continued eating, letting them enjoy their moment. They had no idea that while they were climbing corporate ladders, I'd been building something far bigger than any of them could imagine. "The thing about real business," Robert continued, clearly enjoying his audience, "is that it requires serious capital, serious connections, serious expertise. You can't just dabble." "Dabbling," Margaret repeated with a laugh. "That's exactly what it is. Sarah's always been a dabbler." My father-in-law Harold, usually quiet during these exchanges, decided to join in. "In my day, women who wanted to work got real jobs. None of this computer nonsense." "What exactly do you do all day?" Jessica pressed, leaning forward with mock interest. "I mean, how many hours can you really spend on a hobby?" I set down my fork and looked around the table. 8 successful professionals, all convinced they understood the world of business, all about to learn something that would shatter their assumptions. "Would anyone like to watch the evening news?" I asked casually, reaching for the remote control. "News is boring," Amanda protested. "We're having a conversation." "Actually, I think tonight might be particularly interesting," I said, turning on the large flat-screen TV mounted on the dining room wall. Bloomberg television flickered to life, the familiar blue and white graphics filling the screen. The anchor was in the middle of the financial news segment, discussing market movements and corporate earnings. "And now we turn to today's most significant market event," the anchor announced. "The highly anticipated IPO of Nexacore Technologies hit the Nasdaq this morning with explosive results." Robert rolled his eyes. "Can we please not watch financial news during dinner?" Nexacore raised $2.8 billion in what's being called the most successful tech IPO of the year, the anchor continued. The cloud-based AI platform company saw its stock price surge 340% in the first hour of trading. Jessica sighed dramatically. "Sarah, seriously, can we change the channel?" "The company's founder and CEO," the anchor said as the screen switched to a professional headshot, 32-year-old Sarah Chen, started the company from her home office just 5 years ago. The dining room fell completely silent. My professional photograph filled the screen, the same headshot from my company's website, the same face that had been sitting at their dinner table for years, listening to their jokes about hobby businesses and dabbling. "Oh my God," Amanda whispered. "Founded with just $50,000 in personal savings," the anchor continued, Nexacore Technologies has grown to serve over 15,000 enterprise clients worldwide, including Fortune 500 companies across 17 countries. Robert's wine glass slipped from his hand, red wine spreading across the white tablecloth. "The IPO values the company at $12.4 billion, making Ms. Chen one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the technology sector," the anchor said as the screen showed footage of the Nasdaq opening bell ceremony. There I was, in a navy business suit, surrounded by my executive team and investment bankers. Margaret's mouth hung open, her fork suspended halfway to her mouth. We go now to our technology correspondent who spoke with Ms. Chen earlier today about her remarkable journey from home-based startup to global technology leader. The screen switched to interview footage shot in my corporate headquarters, the 42nd floor of a glass tower in the financial district. I was sitting in my office, the city skyline visible through floor-to-ceiling windows behind me. Sarah, many people don't realize that Nexacore started as what some might call a hobby business. Can you tell us about those early days? My televised self smiled. Absolutely. I started coding AI algorithms from my home office while most people assumed I was just playing around with computers. The beauty of technology is that innovation doesn't require a traditional office or corporate structure. Some of the most revolutionary companies started exactly this way. Harold dropped his napkin, staring at the screen in shock. Your artificial intelligence platform is now used by major corporations for everything from financial modeling to medical research. How did you scale from a home office to serving Fortune 500 clients? The key was focusing on solving real problems rather than worrying about what others thought of my work environment, I replied on screen. While people debated whether working from home was real business, I was building relationships with clients who cared about results, not office locations. Jessica had gone completely pale, her hands trembling as she reached for her water glass. The IPO raised $2.8 billion. What's next for Nexacore? We're expanding our AI platform into new markets and building research partnerships with universities worldwide. We're also launching a $500 million initiative to support other home-based entrepreneurs, particularly women in technology. The interview concluded and the anchor returned. Nexacore Technologies, ticker symbol Nexa, closed its first day of trading up 340% at $127 per share. Ms. Chen retains a 65% stake in the company. I turned off the television and looked around the table. 8 faces stared back at me in complete shock, their usual confidence replaced by bewilderment. So, I said calmly, returning to my salmon, to answer your earlier question, Jessica, I spend my days running a $12.4 billion technology company that employs 3,200 people across 12 countries. Robert's voice came out as a croak. You're a billionaire. According to today's stock price, yes. But you. Amanda stammered, you never said anything. You let us think. You never asked what I actually did, I replied simply. You made assumptions based on the fact that I worked from home. Margaret was reading something on her phone, her face growing paler by the second. Forbes just published an article. They're calling you the quiet revolutionary of AI technology. The Wall Street Journal has been tracking your company for months, Harold said, also scrolling through his phone. They are saying Nexacore is the most undervalued private company in America until today. Mark finally spoke, his voice filled with wonder. Sarah, why didn't you tell me? I had no idea the company was this big. You never seemed interested in the details. When I tried to explain my work, you usually changed the subject. Robert was frantically Googling on his phone. Your company's revenue last year was $1.8 billion. Your profit margins are 34%. These numbers are incredible. Real entrepreneurs, I said, echoing Jessica's earlier words, focus on building value, not on convincing others they're real entrepreneurs. Jessica looked like she was about to cry. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. When I said those things about real business. You meant them, I said gently. And that's okay. Most people equate business success with traditional markers, offices, suits, meetings. But the most innovative work often happens in unconventional environments. $12 billion, Margaret repeated, still staring at her phone. From your home office. The home office was just the beginning. We have headquarters now, regional offices worldwide, research facilities at major universities. But yes, it started in the spare bedroom. Amanda was reading from her phone. It says here you have partnerships with NASA, the Department of Defense, and major medical research institutions. Our AI platform helps solve complex problems across multiple industries. The applications are virtually limitless. Robert set down his phone and looked directly at me. Sarah, I owe you a massive apology. We all do. The things we said were based on limited information and outdated assumptions about how modern business works, I finished. I don't take it personally. But how did you do it? Harold asked, his earlier dismissiveness replaced by genuine curiosity. How does someone build a billion-dollar company without anyone knowing? The same way anyone builds a business, one client at a time, one problem solved at a time. The difference is that I didn't need external validation or traditional markers of success. I focused on creating value. My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and smiled. That's my CFO, I said. Trading closed with our stock up 380%. Market cap is now $13.2 billion. The table fell silent again as everyone processed this information. What happens now? Mark asked quietly. Now I go back to work. We have product launches scheduled, new partnerships to finalize, and a company to run. The IPO was just a milestone, not a destination. Margaret cleared her throat awkwardly. Sarah, dear, would you consider giving a talk to my women's business group? They would be so inspired to hear your story. Of course. I'm always happy to support other entrepreneurs. And maybe, Robert said hesitantly, you could provide some guidance on tech investments? I mean, if you have time. I smiled, recognizing the shift in dynamics around the table. I'd be glad to share what I've learned. As the evening continued, the conversation transformed completely. Instead of patronizing questions about my hobby, family members asked thoughtful questions about artificial intelligence, market strategies, and entrepreneurship. They wanted to understand how I'd identified opportunities they'd missed, how I'd built relationships with major corporations, how I'd scaled so successfully. The most important lesson, I told them as we finished dessert, is that innovation doesn't look like what people expect. Some of the most successful companies started in garages, dorm rooms, and yes, home offices. Success isn't about fitting traditional molds, it's about solving real problems for real people. As we prepared to leave, Margaret pulled me aside. Sarah, I'm embarrassed by how we've treated you. We should have asked more questions, shown more interest. Margaret, it's fine. Success speaks for itself, but only when people are ready to listen. Walking to our car, Mark was quiet for a long time. I can't believe I've been married to a billionaire and didn't know it, he finally said. You've been married to the same person you always were, I replied. The only thing that changed tonight was your family's perception. Why didn't you correct us sooner? I considered this as we drove through the city, passing the building that housed Nexacor's headquarters. Because I was busy building something real. And sometimes, the most powerful response to doubt isn't argument, it's achievement. The next morning, my phone was filled with interview requests, partnership proposals, and congratulatory messages. But the message that made me smile most was from Jessica. Thank you for showing me what real entrepreneurship looks like. I'm inspired to think bigger. Sometimes the best response to being underestimated isn't proving people wrong, it's proving yourself right.